Hi, I'm Jean Haley, and I want to share with you a little bit about why I love natural dyes so much. First thing to know is that I'm a rug hooker. I learned how to hook from my mother. I resisted for years, but then when I tried it finally, I was hooked, as they say. I call it the crack cocaine of craft. I was instantly in. I was full on. I love this fiber art. So I jumped right in and I started designing my own rugs right away. And as happens with many rug hookers who start designing their own things, they want to start actually dyeing their own fibers as well. So we have more control over the color and what we're choosing and figuring out our designs. So I was like many of those who do that and go that route. And so I learned how to acid dye. I used acid dyes with Sue Hamer, my instructor, fabulous woman, fabulous. Her knowledge of color and color theory, I think, is just unsurpassed. She was just quite amazing and an amazing teacher for me. I didn't love it, however. I didn't hate it, but it was just a means to an end. Acid dyeing was just part of the process for making a rug from start to finish that I was going to design on my own. Well, then I learned about this thing called natural dyeing. What? Brain exploding. How come I didn't know this? How come I didn't understand that natural dyes are a thing? I mean, I lived in France for several years. I went to museums with tapestries from the Middle Ages, and those are all, of course, done with natural dyes. The synthetic dyes, acid dyes, were not ever even invented until mid to late 19th century. So everything before then was natural dyes. So as soon as I learned this, right away, I tried to find a workshop where I could learn all about this natural dye stuff. My entire adult life has been dedicated to increasing the sustainability of agriculture and the environment. And so this was one more way for me to increase the sustainability of my art practice. Of course, I'm going to want to learn how to do this. So I signed up for a workshop with Catherine Ellis, who at the time was best known for her woven shibori. She figured out how to do shibori on a loom. So she was best known for that, but she was quickly becoming known as an expert in natural dyes as well. She was writing a book at the time with Joy Boutrip, and it was published a couple years ago called The Art and Science of Natural Dyes. It's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful reference, and they talk about the art, but also the science of the natural dyes. So lucky me, I signed up for this workshop with this woman I had never actually heard of, and she turns out to be just an amazing artist, natural dyer, and a fount of information. So we crammed in about a semester's worth of information into about 6 days. It was unbelievable. Jam-packed. I learned so much. When I got back, I immediately turned my front yard into a dye garden. Who wants to mow the yard? Not me. When you can grow color to actually color your fibers, why not do that? I'm in. Sign me up. So that's what I did. And then I also learned that we have a local artist here in Bloomington, Indiana, where I live. His name is Roland Ricketts. He is an indigo artist, and he actually has an indigo farm here in Bloomington. He studied under a Japanese dye master in Japan for 5 years or more. And his wife is Japanese. They travel back to Japan often. And he was just also another incredible resource. So I didn't have to actually get into a program at IU. I could take graduate classes just on my own, individual classes. Don't ask me why or how, but I was able to do that. And so I studied with him for a few years and learned all about indigo and other natural dyes as well, and continued to deepen my interest and understanding of what was happening with natural dyes. And then I was really lucky to get to participate in a master class in Scotland with Michel Garcia, and he is also very well known in the natural dye world. He's written so many books, and he's a botanist and chemist and amazing human. And I, again, like a semester's worth of information crammed into 1 week, learned so much. The top 3 things that I want to share with you that I learned early on that are the most important things, well, at least the 2 are the 2 most important things. You must scour your fibers. I never learned that when I learned how to acid dye. And when I teach natural dyeing to other hookers or other acid dyers, they didn't learn that either. I don't know why, but it's a very important part of the process if you want your dyes to come up and and adhere deeply and evenly. And then the second one, I learned all about mordants, and this might be a word you've heard here and there. Mordants are metal salts, and anything else that's not a metal salt is not actually a mordant. It might help it bind to your fiber. But metal salts will actually help the color from a plant or an insect or wherever you're getting your dye to adhere with the fiber at a molecular level, like literally bonded to the fiber. And so those two things, if you don't do those right, you're not going to get good results. And then the third thing that I learned, especially from Roland, was that indigo is like nothing else on the planet. There's natural dyes, and then there's indigo. Indigo is an entirely different beast. I have no idea how the first people figured out what indigo was or how to make it work, because if you don't have a balanced vat, if you don't extract it properly, if you don't create the right kind of chemistry in your vat, you're not going to get a solid color that's going to last. So this is kind of crazy to me that people figured these things out way before we had like chemical equations and ways to look at things at the molecular level. So I want everybody to learn how to natural dye, but I want to arm you with the best tools and the best knowledge to get a good start. Too many videos out there that have crazy misinformation. They make people who do natural dyes for a living insane. When we see these videos with people using cabbage and black beans and other things, and we just want to scream to the heavens, make it stop. Those are not natural dyes. They will give you color, but they are stains, and they will fade way sooner than you want them to. And I am not into anybody creating disappearing masterpiece. Nobody wants to do that. So I want to get you started off on the right foot if you're going to try natural dyes, because if you try some of these crazy things that they're talking about, you are going to be so sorry, and then you're going to be turned off, and you're going to think, oh, natural dyes aren't colorfast. Well, they are colorfast. Think about those tapestries that I saw when I lived in France, made in the Middle Ages. Think about kimonos. Think about, there are just so many textiles from the past that happened before the mid-19th century, before we had any synthetic dyes, that were all colored using natural dyes, natural fibers, natural plants and insects and other things. The one thing that I think is pretty cool and pretty easy to do with the natural dyes is that you can instantly eliminate petroleum-based products from your art practice instantly when you start naturally dyeing. All synthetic dyes are fossil fuel petroleum-based. So if you want to get that out of your practice, bang, easy peasy, you can do it with natural dyes.